All right. We made it. 1 minute late. 2 minutes late, actually. But Steve, we're back. It's week 8, man. Are you tired yet?
It's a grind.
Oh man, what a grind, especially with the NBA and college basketball around the corner and NHL. We got the World Series. Oh my God. Um, I wanted to open up this show. Welcome everybody to Laying the Points with Farley Bets. Chris R. Farley 1 on Twitter. Snorm on Twitter at Snorm on Twitter. Steve and Chris here with you for another week. Before we start the show, Steve, I just wanted to say, and this is probably me projecting, but this is such a busy time of year if you're a sports bettor, if you take it seriously, because, we all have a little bit of action junkie in us, and there's no time of year that has more sports than now. So I just think, not enough shows talk about this. I just encourage everybody to only take on the load that you can handle. Don't burn out. Don't overwhelm yourself. I mean, the NFL is going to kick everybody's ass eventually. I'm about to burp here. Because I just scarfed down food before this show because I have like 15 minutes to eat. But yeah, the NFL is going to kick everyone's ass. But with all these other sports coming around, it could just really get overwhelming. So, mental health is not talked about all the time. Take your time, everybody. Take it easy on yourself. Stick with your families and try to do as best you can. And with that, check out, if you're looking at the video, check out all the plugs at the bottom there. Steve and I, writers at the oddsbreakers.com, sharp content every single day there. Still grateful for my opportunity to write there. Now I'm writing some NBA articles, so that's going well. Sports Wager University, we just had our second class yesterday, went off really well. Had Las Vegas Chris there teaching us about a little bit of NFL and some betting basics. Unbelievable class, great interaction with all the people in the class, so that was awesome. And finally, at BetUS TV, talking NBA pretty much every day there at 4 o'clock live. And then on YouTube, you can check us out there anytime. So make sure you follow all those things. Follow at Snorm on Twitter. Follow at Chris R. Farley 1 or Farley Bets on Twitter. And from there, Steve, let's talk about week 7 a little bit. So my last few weeks have been pretty similar, and I'm not very happy about it. So we did well in Circa for the past 4 weeks, but last week we took a dive a little bit. We went 2-3. So that means that we are 24-1 over the past 5 weeks, which is, it's still excellent. Or is it? No, I think it's 19-5-1. Still obviously excellent, but we took a dip last week. Me overall, I was 6-7, minus 4.1 units. So that brings me to 52-47 on the year, plus 10.9 units. I could say a lot about it, Steve. I don't want to spend too much time on it because, it's painful to think about those types of weeks. But I know you had a hard time with it, and that's understandable, man, because you have been kicking ass. And no one expects you to kill it every single week. But how was your week?
Yeah, no, I was definitely hard on myself this week a little bit. It was a tough week. I didn't feel comfortable going into it either. I went 7-6, ended up plus almost a half unit, so at 0.46. So 67-36 overall. But I'm really looking forward to getting back to this week. Hopefully, getting a little more sharp on these ones. I feel like last week I was a little off. I think I was more focused on the Vegas trip that I was on, and wasn't exactly on my game as much. But I looked around a lot of Twitter, and I don't feel as bad because I think a lot of people struggled last week as well. So
yeah,
I'll see if we can bounce back this week, though.
Yeah, so some of the sharpest guys I know didn't have the best week, so that always makes me feel better. And I love how Steve just casually said, 67-36, like, whatever. I mean, that's still, Steve, that's at least 66%. I mean, that's around there, right? 65, something like that?
Yeah, 65% right now.
Okay, so we're halfway through the season, Steve, and you're hitting at 65%. That's the only week that I can remember where you didn't have pretty significant win column compared to the loss column. So, especially in that, everyone knows NFL is the sharpest market out there. Really tough to beat. So, for the amount that you've been beating it, Steve, it's still amazing. What's your unit count at?
plus 36 right now.
Yeah. So
36,
that sucks.
34. Yeah.
Plus 36. You got to pick that up, Steve. That's
Get
yeah.
it going a little bit here.
So Steve, a full 20 units over me, no big deal. I seem to feel better about it, but I like the perfectionist in Steve. That's what you need. All right, let's go right into it because as Steve and I were talking about before the show, there's only 4 teams on bye?
No,
2 teams?
only 2 teams on bye.
2 teams on bye. So
yeah.
only 1 game negated.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Here we go. All right, first game of the week, the Green Bay Packers going into Arizona tomorrow night. 2 of the best teams in the NFC facing the 7-0 Cardinals. I'm going according to Vegas Insider on this podcast, Steve. I probably should let you know that beforehand, but
Okay.
I'm sure they're pretty similar to Bet Online. Arizona right now is -6.5. Total is at 15.5. I'll start with this one, Steve, just because I think I'm fairly certain that I'm not going to have a play in this game. When I look at this line and when I think about both of these teams, excuse me, I feel like either way I bet, I'm going to lose. I don't know. I just have that feeling in this game because it could go either way, right? I mean, the Cardinals have given us no reason not to. I see this every single week. There's no reason to not believe that the Cardinals can cover. They even covered that huge inflated number last week when it went up to 20. And they're at home, and there's no Devonta Adams. On the flip end, Green Bay, man, they have, since that first week 1 loss against the Saints, have virtually been untouchable. Aaron Rodgers is locked in. So even without Devonta Adams, plus 6.5, that seems like a nice gift there. But so I just, because I don't see any strong side to be like, hey, it jumps off the page. For now, I'm off this game, Steve. What do you think?
Yeah, the one thing you're looking at here is, I mean, realistically, is Devonte Adams the biggest reason why it's 6.5? Would it only be 3.5? Is he literally moving the line 3 points? Because if that's the case, I don't know if with MVS coming back, if it's would be that big of a fall off with just a player with Aaron Rodgers being able to sling it the way he does. When looking on the other side, I saw that J.J. Watt is now out, and Hopkins is obviously nursing his hamstring as well. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where it's like it's a big number, and you don't see Aaron Rodgers losing by that much often, right? The week 1 we were all pretty shocked, but Arizona has also, like you said, haven't showed us a reason why not to pick them either. So for me, the one trend I saw that I kind of liked that stood out for me was that the total has gone under in 7 of the last 9 Arizona games against Green Bay, for what that's worth for anyone. It being a higher spread, I think it's out around 50, around 50 points, and Rodgers not having his number 1 receiver. Maybe there is some unpolished play a little bit here where instead of getting touchdowns, they have to settle for field goals, which could, highly affect the under hitting maybe. So right now I'm looking to possibly lean and hit this under right now. Also, Arizona at home, off the top of my head, I was thinking, they didn't score a lot of points when they played San Francisco. Last week, they scored 31 at home, so you would imagine that Packers are going to keep pace with them a little bit there to get it up, but they haven't. I was looking, like, they haven't really had that many home games, so we've only have a small sample size of 3 games with them.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I feel like they have, from what I've seen, they play not as good as they have on the road. They've just been dumping points on people on the road, and at home it seems like it's been a little bit different. But like I said, it is a smaller sample size. And actually, I'm completely wrong. It's only 3 games there, and they've done 30 and twice. So that the San Francisco game is the one I was looking at. But yeah, I'm going to look maybe a little towards the under here, but I kind of agree with you on this one, Chris. I don't really like it either way because I could see either team covering this.
Yeah, it's just one of those, and especially, and then it's a Thursday on top of it, right? With the volatility of Thursday.
Yeah.
Whew. Short week for Green Bay. We didn't really see that affect them last week, but man, this is a tough spot for Green Bay, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Miami at Buffalo. Buffalo off of a bye after that loss to the Titans. Buffalo, this line opened at 11.5. Currently, it's at 13.5 in favor of Buffalo at home. And you can't like anything that's going on in Miami right now. What do you got on this one, Steve?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I don't feel comfortable taking Miami with anything right now, specifically with all the news going on with Watson. You're hearing from pretty strong sources that some people think that this deal will get done by the deadline next week. Possibly, it's all on these contingencies right now that they're trying to work through. I guess with Watson's legality issues, and if they can get something back, if Watson's a no-go with his
Yep.
legal issues. But that doesn't have that can't bode well for Tua and his confidence with this team right now. And Buffalo on their side, coming off that loss before their bye, they have to be more than well prepared, ready to go, ready to play. They're going to be at home. I think they're going to come out. I think they're going to be ready. And I really don't see Miami being able to stick with Buffalo, especially after the bye and the loss.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this as a circuit play, Steve. When in that NFL class yesterday, Las Vegas Chris talking about that 70% that the big favorites have hit at over the past few years.
It hits, yeah.
It hits, right? And it's not something we think about. We're like, whoa, what a huge number. So it scares us away. But I can't see the Dolphins and how they play, especially with the improved Bills defense. So the Bills are going to get stops. How are the Dolphins going to get stops? The Dolphins can't get stops against the Falcons. The Dolphins couldn't get stops against the Jaguars. I mean, that's not a good look. Now, of course, as always, the money, 99% of the money on Buffalo. But we've seen, right, that's not a true form. Like it doesn't always tell us that it's not going to hit, especially because the number is going up, right? So that makes sense. The only way that I can look here is Buffalo. That's interesting that this whole thing with Deshaun Watson is happening because, I mean, Tua did some good things last week, but again, didn't do enough. And how does Tua feel right about that? I mean, that just has to take the steam out of him. So I can't look any other way than the Bills in this one. Kind of like the over just because of the way, and I don't think I talked about that. The total's at 49.5 right now. Kind of like the over because I don't see Miami being able to stop Buffalo with anything. But the Dolphins have woken up on offense a little bit, so I can see that happening. Check the weather for this one. Just a note to everybody. I haven't checked the weather on any of these games, but in October, November, December, we are getting into those months where you need to think about the weather every single week. That can change the entirety of the game. Totals, the way if it's a passing team and and it's windy, that's going to really affect that team. So make sure you're checking that. I don't have that in front of me right now, unfortunately, but I can only look at the Bills in this one. All right, Panthers at Falcons. Atlanta, Steve, on a 2-game win streak here. Totals at 48, and Atlanta favored by 3 right now. Do they deserve that line? I gotta say, Steve, I have to call you out here in a positive way as usual, because Sam Darnold, man, I think you're right about Sammy D. I mean, is he a good quarterback? Sometimes, started off hot, but he has not shown a lot these past few weeks. He's really regressing. I mean, when you get your ass kicked by the New York Giants, look, the Giants, that really spoiled our circuit play. I was pissed off about that. The one time I bet against the Giants in circuit, I mean, I bet against the Giants a lot, but the one time I put them in circuit, of course. So I can't even celebrate the win, Steve. Like I was more pissed off about it because of how well we were doing in circa. But yeah, I mean, Carolina's not looking hot right now. I expect them to bounce back, but Atlanta's a little frisky. I mean, I think the defense is showing signs of getting better in the sense that they're making plays when it counts. The stats aren't there. They're still one of the worst teams in the league in a lot of defensive categories, but the Falcons are going to hang in games now. But now they're the favorite. So how long has it been since the Falcons have been a favorite? Unfortunately, I don't have that data in front of me either. But I mean, it's unless they were facing like the Jets, yeah, like unless they're facing a shitty team, it's been a long time. So this one has me a little dumbfounded too, Steve. I want to take the Panthers because I think we're getting a little overvalue on the Falcons here, but I can't take the Panthers after last week. I mean, I don't know. They're not showing signs that they're going to come back and they're going to, be like the weeks 1 through 3 Panthers team.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at two teams that have been trending in the opposite directions here. Falcons seem to have kind of found their groove a little bit. Matt Ryan is putting up some decent numbers net here as of late, and like you have already talked about, Sam Darnold is just completely showing who he was with the New York Jets. I mean, once Christian McCaffrey got out from the Panthers, like it's been kind of downhill since that happened. And seems like Matt Ryan, with Ridley coming back last week was huge for them. He's hitting his groove with the young tight end Kyle Pitts. He's starting to really put up numbers and come into his own a lot. And I know it's a division game. At least Atlanta is home, and you said, when's the last time Falcons have been favored? I think it probably was that Week 1 game against the Eagles, but that's a different Falcons team now. Like, I don't think the Eagles could beat them right now, the way their offense is moving the ball. So, I really I do like the Falcons, I think, in this one to cover this 3 because, like you said, Panthers haven't shown anything. Sam Darnold got benched last week. Who? PJ Walker, I believe.
Yeah, that was bad luck.
Yeah, it's really bad look. And now you have to go play a team who, I mean, Atlanta, they beat 2 bad teams. They beat Miami, they beat the Jets. Well, guess what? Carolina's a bad team too, so they could beat them as well.
Right. So you would lean to the Falcons for now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only side I can look to right now. Okay, let's move on to your Philadelphia Eagles, Steve, heading to Detroit. Already gave out a premium pick on this one. Should I talk about it? Maybe I will. I don't know. But the Lions, 0-7, they competed last week, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
But now they're going back home to here comes Philly. 74% of the bets in the Lions, totals at 48. And the Eagles are minus 3.5. So getting that hook right now if you're on the Lions side.
Yeah, that Eagles performance last week was pretty bad across the board. The coach not challenging, key calls when, like, to give your team a chance, even if it might be wrong, might be right. I kind of thought it would have been gone the Eagles' way there too. It kind of felt like the old Andy Reid days, not knowing when to challenge plays. And then, in the red zone, key plays to, try to get a touchdown, get back in this game, and fumbling shotgun snaps by Jalen Hurts. It was just ugly across the board. The defense got absolutely carved up by Derek Carr. Kudos to the Raiders. They looked really good. Their defense got after Hurts, and it was just a mess of a game for Philly. And now we're looking at them here at last I saw was minus 3.5. I don't know. Is that the same on Action Network?
Yep.
And you have to, like, kind of scratch your head here because I'm thinking now, like, yeah, the Eagles have 2 wins. The Lions don't have any, but, realistically, the Eagles, like I just talked about, I don't think they could beat the Falcons right now. And the Panthers, if they had any other quarterback, probably would have beat them that game as well because they controlled the game the whole time. We got a pump block to really get back in it. So, I mean, if you really think about it, the Eagles are pretty close to almost being a no-win team as well. Now they're going to be favored on the road, against a team that they've historically been 1-5 against this spread in the last 6 games against Detroit, and they're 2-8 against the spread in the last 10 games on the road. So I'm on this one. They haven't shown me enough to really trust them, and Detroit at least has shown me enough that they're, like, willing to stay in games. They should have they were there to beat the Ravens that day. Fortunately, the 66-yarder and Hollywood Brown dropped 3 touchdown passes. But hey, the Lions can compete. They showed they can compete last week. I think they really feel, though, now like they've been in all these games. They've been in some close games. That this is actually a winnable game, and it's really good for a team to get a win. It doesn't matter if you get 0, if you get 1, or if you get 10. Sometimes it's just good to at least get 1 for the Lions. And I think with Campbell as their coach, they're going to be ready. And I'm going to lean towards the Lions to cover this 3.5 right now, especially with that hook.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it leaves me puzzled too. These are 2 teams who. Neither one of these, I mean, in the NFL, this doesn't happen as often as in some other sports like the NBA, where, a team will just, hang it up for the entire year when they know that the season is blown. I mean, the Lions season is blown, right? They're not making the playoffs. They're 0-7. I mean, there's no shot at that. Eagles season is not blown yet, but it's not looking great.
Close.
Yeah, but you got Dan Campbell. He's not a coach that's going to give up on his team. Sirianni seems like he's a young guy, but he's kind of old school in his mindset. There's a lot of players competing for their jobs in the future. So this is going to be a hard fought game, no doubt. On both sides of the ball. And I just want to ask you a question about this, Steve, because genuinely, the NFL class had me thinking last night, because we always have to remember, right? The books know everything we know.
Mm-hmm.
So, since you're an Eagles expert, why is this line -3.5 for the Eagles? On defense, I think they have a pretty decent advantage on defense.
Yeah.
I know they didn't show it last week. It's tough to play in Vegas. Maybe they did hit the slots the night before.
Maybe they
I don't
did.
know. But this is still a better defense than the Lions. I think the Lions match up well because they still have an above average offensive line. Goff, when he's putting himself out there a little more, he's a decent quarterback. When he's fired up, at least. So I think they match up well, Steve. And they're the Eagles' offense isn't blowing anyone off the field, so it really doesn't matter that the Lions' defense isn't that great. So at home, why do you have any insight as to why are the books just trying to trick us into taking that hook here? Like, is that
Well, no, I think it does go down to like what you said, the defense. Like when you look at these two teams, right away, I'm like, yeah, well, the Eagles' defense, should be a more significant, a lot better. But at the end of the day, for me, I just don't see what we're with coaching and what we're doing on offense to be able to really establish any sort of game flow that has really like gotten us going at all. The only thing that could bode well for the Eagles here is if if Jalen Hurts can get it done with his legs. We weren't able to do that against the Raiders because their defensive line was just all over him the whole time. And that's where the Eagles are good right now. That's when Jalen Hurts gets into the open field. So maybe because this line is the way it is, that Lions might not have that type of pass rush that is able to contain Jalen Hurts, and he's going to be getting in the open field this week.
There you go. That's a good look too, right? That's when the Eagles thrive, is when they have some space on offense, right? And there's not somebody in their face. And the Lions definitely they have plenty of room to improve on defense. So maybe that's what the books are taking into. It is spooky that 75% of the money, 74% of the bets are on the Lions with that hook. It just feels like bait a little bit, but all right.
Yep, absolutely.
Titans, Colts. Steve, I'm excited about this one because this is what I've been waiting for. I was hoping for, I should say, that the Titans and Colts would have some good battles this year. And then the Colts opened up the season not looking great at all. Now they've won 2 in a row. Titans have won 3 in a row. Impressive win by the Titans last week against the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, they're at home, but still, very impressive. Defense starting to show up a little bit more too. Colts, impressive win at San Francisco. I don't care that it was in the rain. That defense has really stepped up. They are allowing only 367 yards of offense per game. Now that, maybe in the old NFL, that sounds like a lot. Halfway through the season, the new NFL, that's pretty good. Carson Wentz is doing enough, right? He's throwing like 250 per game. So he's not like, he's not exploding out there or anything, but he's efficient. So this line, -1 on the home team Colts, total set of 50.5. My first thought is on the under because the Titans have been playing better on defense. They've been limiting teams. They limited the Chiefs. The Colts have looked real good on defense recently. And it's a divisional game, right? I know it's in a dome, but it's a divisional game. And those are always hard. There's always, it's usually a battle in the trenches there. So I don't know if I could pick a side here. I want to pick the Titans because I love playing on Derrick Henry when they can control the ball. And Ryan Tannehill, I say a lot of things over and over again, so I apologize there, listeners. But somebody put Tannehill on ESPN or something. The guy makes key passes every week. He has to be a top 10 quarterback at this. In the sense that he makes 3rd down and 12 passes routinely throughout every game, and that's something that most quarterbacks do not do. So a lot of Tannehill should be praised a little more. But anyway, I want to pick the Titans in this one, Steve. But all I'm looking at is the under in this game right now. Obviously, a really close call. What do you got?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how things change now and from September. When Tennessee played the Colts earlier this year is when Carson Wentz had both of his ankles, pretty beat up, and I was pretty adamant that the Titans were going to handle them pretty well, and now we're looking here in October, and I find myself kind of like leaning towards the Colts. I've really been impressed with Wentz's play. He's controlling the ball. He doesn't look like has the deer in the headlights look in those last couple of games. Even the game that they lost, unfortunately, to the Ravens the way they did, but he looked pretty good, and like he was kind of getting back to that 2017 season form a little bit. I don't want to say completely, but a little bit. Like he, even in the rain, being able to, as mobile as he was, rushing up the middle against San Francisco for like 15 yards to get first downs, things like he's actually starting to like impress me a little bit again to make me think like, okay, maybe he is more comfortable with, Frank Reich's system, because I think this game is going to be an absolute battle. And I know it's like the old typical saying, like, it's hard to beat a team twice. And, this would really just look good for this division if the Colts could win this game and make it really tight and competitive in this division to jockey for the top spot. So I'm kind of actually leaning the Colts here. I like them at home and the way they've been playing. I know Titans have been playing, equally just as well, playing tough competition, winning. But I do think that the Colts edge them out a little bit with their defensive play here. And I think they can contain Derrick Henry enough to edge it out.
Do you know if that's a play for you or just a lean for now?
That might be a play for me. I want to kind of see where the line goes and what the betting looks like. Yeah.
Love that. Hey, if Steve's talking highly about Carson Wentz, he means it. Yeah, I wish you guys. I wish he was performing like that for you guys. I guess I don't wish it as a Giants fan, but yeah, we didn't see that Carson Wentz the past 2 years. And something tells me game 2 is going to be a lot closer.
I think he has a better coach.
Yeah, maybe that. Really, right? When you're developing with the right coach, maybe that's making a big difference.
Yeah.
All right, Rams at Houston Texans. Texans getting their doors blown off again last week. Rams survived against the Lions. They started to surge there in the fourth quarter and they gained some margin. This line is set at minus 14.5. Opened at 14. So we're seeing a little movement there, not much. Current total went up. It's at 47.5, started at 45.5. Is this one me or you, Steve? I forget. I think it's you.
Yeah, this one's me. So I think I heard today that Tyrod Taylor got activated off IR. So I'm assuming he's going to be the starter this week. I could be completely wrong on that. I don't know if you've heard anything more about that. And if so, what a time to come back off of IR. Facing this Rams defense, like, talk about, getting right back into it. And like we talked about earlier about it being a large number. And how can we not, kind of like that large number narrative now that we heard that, the numbers on that being hitting at about a 70% rate. But either way, I would have, I like this game for the Rams right now. It goes back to what I've said, that it doesn't matter. They have to keep winning. They're always going to be prepared. They have to win because they have to keep pace with the Cardinals in their division. They just have to if they want to win their division. So there's no look-ahead games for the Rams. They're going to be ready to go. Even if Tyrod does come back, he's coming off of, not being, quote-unquote warm. He hasn't been playing. I just think it's a bad spot for Houston here. What a rough stretch Houston has to deal with. Arizona and now the Rams. I like the Rams to go in there and take care of them handily.
Yeah, that's the only side I can lean to. Game to game, I don't know what Houston's going to bring from a defensive. They play hard on defense, but against a good offense, they're going to be exposed. So I don't know what to expect from them. And when you don't know what to expect from the worst team in the game, then it's really hard to predict the game narrative. Even though this is on the road, the Rams should cover this number. but it's probably not going to be a play for me just because here I go again. Huge number, scary. But is it that scary against the Houston Texans? Maybe not. So only side I can look is at the Rams. Of course, a ton of money in the spread bets already on the Rams for that one. Not a shocker there. All right, Bengals at the Jets. Excuse me. You would think I've had a long week, Steve. I'm losing my voice here. Bengals at the Jets. Bengals currently minus 10.5 on the road. 90% of the bets on the Bengals. 92% of the money. Totals at where is the total? Is it, why the hell don't I see the total here on the screen? I don't know. You got the 45. The total set of 45. Zach Wilson not going to be in this game. Steve, Mike White stepping up against Cincinnati and this feisty defense. Who, man, alive. I mean, Cincinnati, man. We loved them last week. We had them in Circa. That felt really good. Seeing everything we thought about the Bengals come true last week. Right, a complete game by their defense, their offense, confusing Lamar, playing great pass defense. Joe Burrow continuing to show moxie and confidence out there. There's a lot to like about this Bengals team. Steve, I know you might want to talk about a prop bet or two that you have in mind for the Cincinnati Bengals, but the only way I can look, man, is the Bengals. I mean, we're talking about a backup quarterback, probably in like windy, cooler weather. I'm not a meteorologist, but that's what it's like in the Northeast right now. So, it should be a grimy game, a dirty game in the trenches. The Bengals defense is legit. There's something about the allure of like the New York teams, like New York Jets. Oh, I think they can compete. I don't know what that is. That's, it's bullshit is what it is. And this number could easily be more than 10.5 right now. If anything, I think the Bengals are getting undervalued here a little bit. Why wouldn't we treat the Bengals like the Rams or a lot of these other teams going against a horrible team here? The Bengals are playing really good football, Steve. I don't see the Jets being the one to break that. I don't know if they're on an ATS streak, but I don't think the Bengals are going to be or the Jets are going to be the one to expose them and keep this game close. So I'm probably going to have a play on the Bengals here. I think they're getting not disrespected, but I think this line should be even higher.
Yeah, and that was the big red flag I had for this one. I'm kind of wondering myself, why is this line only at 10.5? We just talked about the Rams who are playing against Houston, and they're at what was it, 14.5? And now you have a backup quarterback playing against the Bengals, who right now, if the season ended, I believe would be the number 1 seed in the AFC. So why is this only at 10.5? So that's kind of like making me question this game a little bit. You got 93% of the money right now on the Bengals. And the line hasn't really been moving so far yet this week up or anything. So I'm kind of like just being careful with this one because I think it's really easy to look at it and say, oh, Bengals, right? Because like that's what I want to do. But then the other side of it, I don't want to try to get too cute with the Jets because I tried doing that last week and it was just a disaster. So it's one of those where, but then again, we've done this before with the Lions game against the Bengals, right? It was the line was only 3, and we thought that was like a cute trap game, right? So we would take Lions, and then of course the Bengals blew them out by like 30-some points. So sometimes maybe we just don't overthink it. Just know that yes, the Bengals are really good. The Jets are starting a backup. Let's just take the Bengals. I'm gonna look more into it though.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move. I mean, there's something fishy about the line, no doubt about it. All right, Steelers at the Browns. The spread is currently at 3.5. Start at 2.5. Browns now minus 3.5. Totals at 42.5. I think that total is pretty spot on. But Steve, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, so I saw news today that looks like Nick Chubb will be back for the Browns, and Mayfield might be on the right track to be able to play as well. Divisional game, I'm kind of seeing, I think so far, that a lot of people are kind of really liking the Steelers with that hook, especially that plus 3.5. But this Browns team as of late has been getting after the Steelers. They give them a really hard time, especially that defensive front. I kind of like the Browns right now. They showed me even a good bit last week with all the injuries and still being able to really control that game, no matter even up front with their offensive line. Having Nick Chubb come back, I saw the Steelers' run defense. Alex Collins for the Seattle Seahawks ran all over them. So if you can get Chubb back, and even as we saw Johnson as the 1-2 punch there, that could be a hard task for the Steelers to be able to have to defend that. So I think I'm going to kind of lean towards the Browns here, and in the fact that I think the Browns defense can actually get after old Big Ben there.
Well, what if so Baker said it's absolutely possible he could play this weekend, but I guess it's not a sure thing. So does that change your perspective at all?
Yeah, I think the line would go up if he doesn't play. I think they would go to 4.5 for the Cleveland, and I take it.
You think?
No, I know it doesn't. It doesn't. I honestly I think Keenum is a very capable quarterback. I really do. The only thing that's really drawing me off the Steelers game is I just feel like a lot of people are on it. I mean, I saw a lot of people like on Twitter, Facebook, things like that, like talking about it, and that just made me want to just go, arbitrary to what they're doing, because you look at it, plus 3.5, you like the hook, but I just think back to that playoff game with the Browns and how they got right after the Steelers and made them look old and slow, and I think that's what the Browns are capable of doing in this game.
I'm going to look up the weather here as I talk. But I will say the one thing about Baker and Case Keenum and all that is I do think that when Baker plays, their offense could be less effective. I mean, it was probably a better team with Baker, but they rely on him a little more, right, than they do on Case Keenum. So they don't put the game in the hands of the offensive line, their run game. Maybe there's less expectations for their defense even, right? Just like the team mentality. So I almost wonder if it is a better thing in this game to kind of, prepare for the trenches, prepare for a run game, get TJ Watt double teamed, mow down the guys, run the ball a lot, and just put this game in the books. The weather on Sunday is going to be 55 and rainy. I like the under in this game. I already liked it without that forecast, just because you can see a hard-fought, hard-nosed battle. Browns have been in some low-scoring games this season, and they can control this game. The Steelers are going to continue to choose, even if it's not for their best outcome. They're going to keep on choosing to throw the ball with Ben, even though he's pretty much ineffective at this point. Has his moments, but I can only lean to the Browns at this point. If this number went down to 3, I would be a little more bullish on the Browns. I'm not going to get sucked into that hook there, Steve. I think the Browns are just a considerably better all-around team than the Steelers. The Steelers defense can bring it, but at the end of the day, I think they can pull ahead with that run game. Mm-hmm. And I love that the weather is going to kind of play into that. Mm-hmm. 49ers at the Bears. 49ers on a 4-game losing streak. Yikes. Going into Chicago, we're on a 2-game losing streak. Total's at 39.5, very low total. And the 49ers, even with that losing streak, are currently at -4. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're showing on your end?
Yep.
So this is an ugly game, Steve. I mean, Jimmy G did not look good. Now, a lot of credit to the Colts, but he didn't look great last week. San Francisco looks clunky, even after 2 weeks, even after a bye week with Shanahan. That was a surprise to me. I mean, I was still on the Colts +4, but I thought they would show out a little better than that. I mean, the Colts kind of blew them away in the second half. Nothing jumps off the screen for me in this one, Steven. It's probably because these are two really frustrating teams. The Bears week to week, you want to pull for them. You want to pull for Fields. Fields does some things, but not nearly enough, right? He got punked by Brady last week like we thought would happen. And then San Francisco is just trending in the wrong direction. So you got two teams trending in the wrong direction, probably very similar defensive skill sets, and probably, I guess you got to give the edge to San Francisco on offense, which is why they're favored, but it's in Chicago. I mean, the weather can't be good in Chicago this week. We should, that probably plays into that line too. I'll look that up as you're speaking to this one, Steve, but do you have anything a little more bullish on this one?
Well, I just think, San Francisco, simply put, has to absolutely win here. They
Hmm.
going into this season, they were one of, however many, a Super Bowl contender on paper, right? We were ready to see them take that step, but we've seen them go with Kyle Shanahan. Like, are they going to be ready to do this now that Garoppolo is back? And we just haven't seen it from them yet. And you just have to think that Shanahan, right? What is he? He's known as a defensive mastermind, right? Or no, he's not. Is he? I forget. I'm thinking of
No
another.
offensive mastermind, I
No,
think, but
offensive mastermind. I'm thinking of the next line for the next game.
these are long weeks, Steve.
For
Long weeks.
the Chargers is who I'm thinking of. No, but Shanahan, he's supposed to be, he's supposed to be this offensive mastermind. He's supposed to be able to move the ball, and they really haven't been moving the ball. I mean, I always talk about the Eagles because I saw the San Francisco play the Eagles this year. Really watch that game, and definitely they're not moving the ball. They're not doing really anything. And then you have the Bears, who, they're kind of a frustrating team as well because, you saw them go into Vegas and put it towards the Raiders. Granted, that was after losing Gruden. They played Green Bay tough at home 2 weeks ago, so that was like kind of an upswing. And I was really hoping last week that the Bears would, you know, really show something against Brady, and it just wasn't. Not. They came out flat. They looked bad. I think you got to just still go with San Francisco with all the talent that they have. Yes, they've been losing, but they are a very capable team. They were ranked high before the season started for a reason. The Bears are still a developing team. It's still a rookie quarterback. If I had to pick a side, even though it is in Chicago on the road, I would still take, I think, San Francisco at that number right now.
All right, yeah, you're making me have a little bit more of an opinion about that one. I like San Francisco a little bit more now too. Still just a lean for me, but as the week goes on, maybe I'll become more bullish. All right, Jacksonville at Seattle. I actually have a strong opinion on this one. What do you think about this one, Steve? I guess I should say the line first.
Yeah.
Yeah, Seattle's -3 at home, and the total's at 43.5.
Well, I just couldn't be more wrong about Geno Smith. Apparently, he's a covering machine. He's 2-0 against the spread since he's took over. So if you've been just hammering Geno Smith, good on you. Um, you know, this for me is an ugly game. We talked about some uglier games, like for example, San Francisco and Chicago and whatnot. But this one is just so ugly. It doesn't feel great. I kind of actually, unfortunately, am leaning towards Seattle and Geno Smith because, I mean, it is just such a hard place, especially for a rookie quarterback to go and play in that atmosphere that stadium does bring. And also, for me, it really just comes down to better coaching. I think, Pete Carroll could just absolutely have his way with a head coach like Urban Meyer, who I don't think should be an NFL coach. So feels gross. I may fade this one, but right now I'm leaning Seattle. I'd like to hear what you say.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're thinking that, Steve, because this is my angle on this game. So this is a pretty flat number, right? There's not a lot to analyze here. -3, Seattle's at home, so Seattle's actually worth some points at home with that crowd, right? The 12th man and everything. So that's saying that the books are thinking that Seattle's on a neutral field. Seattle's 1 point better than Jacksonville. I don't think so. This is a case in this situation where I was impressed by Seattle and the way they fought against the Saints. That was not, even though they were at home, Saints coming off a bye, Seattle's trying to stay in contention, but so are the Saints. I expected more out of the Saints. We were both on that side. This is a case for me, Steve, where you have a class organization, an A-class organization who's been at the top for a long time now. Their guys on the sideline. Russell Wilson's out, he's going to be out for a while. And now you have Urban Meyer and these young Bucs coming up to Seattle all the way from Jacksonville. That's a long road trip. And they think they're going to come in here and they're going to beat the Seattle Seahawks who have been to the Super Bowl the past decade and all this other stuff. I don't think so. I think Seattle is going to play out in this game again. Even though Seattle played on Monday night, still this is a late game on Sunday. Okay, a little bit short of a week, but I think they're going to be eager to get back out here and get a win on a 3-game losing streak. Jacksonville finally got their win 2 weeks ago before their bye. This screams take Seattle to me. Take Geno feeling fat and sassy about himself against his Jacksonville defense, and give me a USC coach, Pete Carroll, against Urban Meyer. Pete Carroll has done it. He's had success, and he's going to show this old young man how to do it in the NFL. So I really like Seattle on this one, Steve. I think they're getting a little bit undervalued here. It's still a good team with a lot of talented players. And if Russell was in there, I think they would have easily won last week. I mean, the Saints looked pretty abysmal. All right,
you got me in for that one. I'm ready to take them for a circa now.
Love it. Good. Let's do it. Okay, so New England at the Chargers. I'm pretty bullish on this one too, Steve. This, it's one of those annoying lines. I hate -5, -5.5. Like there's nothing to. It's just the worst. But totals at 49. The bets and the money are pretty even in this one, so nothing really to think about there. I really like the Chargers in this game, Steve. The Chargers, they got that bad loss before the bye. Punked a little bit, whatever. That's fine. The Chargers before the bye, before that loss, were sort of the talk of the town. Justin Herbert at home, off a bye. I think that Brandon Staley is a really good coach. Every team in the NFL, every game matters in the NFL. So every team is going to have a week where the other team is just playing harder than them. They're just more present than them. Maybe that's what happened with the Chargers. I'm not going to overthink it. Look, New England is obviously a buttoned-up franchise, but they have to go across the country, all the way to L.A. Not that that's a hard place to play, right? Because they don't have a lot of home fans, but still quite a travel spot. And Mac Jones probably feeling good about himself, but the Chargers defense, we've seen an upswing in their play. Justin Herbert, I believe in him. I believe in him to pick it up after the bye week and to be pissed off and to come out on fire. I think the Chargers win by at least a touchdown here, Steve. I think this number's off. I really like the Chargers in this one.
Yeah, I'm exact the same with you. Going back to what you said about coming, got blown out, then went into their bye, so they are coming out and they are going to be ready. I just don't think the Patriots can keep pace offensively with the Chargers. I think we're going to be able to see the Chargers really just take over this game. Could go up 14-0, and it just be too much for the Patriots to be able to come back from. And I really like them to cover on this one. One thing last week, the Patriots, they put up those numbers last week. They looked really good, but this is a different class of team now. They're going to be traveling out west. Last game, I was thinking that I saw Mac Jones play where he had to travel extensively was against Houston. And as we saw, they did not play that well traveling that far. I don't know if there's anything with it on this one, but I kind of like the Chargers a lot. I think enough that could even be a circa pick for us as well.
Ooh, we're stacking them up now, Steve. You know what I'm a little scared of, though? We don't like a lot of dogs yet. Last week we liked a lot of dogs. This week we don't like any dogs, it seems. So far, anyway.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm looking right now really quick.
Of the games we went over, I'm not sure if we've liked one dog.
The Lions. That was it.
Oh, the Lions. That's true. Okay, we got the Lions there. That's a good one. Of course, against it's against one of our teams. Of course. All right, the Washington football game at the Denver Broncos. Denver 4-game losing streak after that 3-0 start. Denver's still favored -3, and I think that's the right side. I'm curious what you think about this one, Steve. And totals at 44.
Yeah, the Broncos. It's a tricky one. If they are healthy. You really like them, especially being at home and Mile High. I saw Von Miller's 50-50 to play. It's just one of those games that I could see kind of lurking around and being a back and forth game. You just don't know. Like, to be honest, watching the Broncos last week, they did not look good. They came out the second half, got back into the game on that long drive, but then the Browns came right back to extend their lead again. So it's just this for me is just there's too many variables, too many guys two bad teams. Fitzpatrick is still weeks away from returning. It looks like Heineke will be the guy again this week. I'm just really not impressed by the play of Washington. I mean, why would you be? I mean, any team out of the NFC East other than the Cowboys right now, are you really going to feel confident in them? And I kind of am leaning towards Denver, I'd say, just because we've seen Bridgewater be successful this year. if they can get a little healthier. They did have a Thursday night game, so it is kind of like coming off a little bit of a bye for them, so that maybe they are getting a little more healthy and being at home. So I will lean towards Denver. I don't feel as comfortable in this one though.
Yeah, and when I said that's the right side, I just meant I said that wrong. I think the number is right on this game. I think they should be 2.5 to 3 point favorites here. That's where I have it. So no play for me, but I definitely have a lean on Denver too, just because of the spot. They're at home now. The injuries are definitely adding up, but they're at home. 4-game losing streak. This is a team that they can expose, absolutely expose a little bit on offense. Right, if they get their offense finally going a little bit. It sucks that Jerry Jeudy is on IR now. I mean, the injuries are just stacking up on all sides of the ball for Denver. But this is it's always a tough spot, right? If a team has a really good situation, like the Raiders after the Gruden shit, the Raiders went to Denver. Okay, fine. That's an aberration. Usually Denver at home, they're going to have an advantage. So the only side I can look on this one is Denver, but this is another sloppy game, Steve. I mean, two teams that are very disappointing. We got a 3-game losing streak for the football team, 4-game losing streak for Denver. Just like hope is lost with these two teams a little bit right now. If I would trust any team to pick their ass up, it would be the Broncos at home.
Yeah.
All right, the Bucs and the Saints. This feels like it should be a big game. I don't know if it is. So let's see here. This line opened at -4. It's up to -5.5 on the Bucs. 87% of the money on the Bucs. Totals at 50. Excuse me. Tampa Bay looking like Tampa Bay. And what scares me a little bit about the Bucs, Steve? Not a lot of people talking about them, right? Mm-hmm. They're 6-1. They're 6-1. Brady's cruising every week. He's dusting his shoulders off, Steve. The defense is starting to play better. They're covering the number. I mean, they're not always covering the number, actually, but it feels like they're beating teams up every week, even if they're not covering the number, just because they just easily outplay the other team when they need to. And now they're going to New Orleans after the Saints didn't look good. I mean, Jameis Winston, man, he has to be due for a big game eventually, right? He's such a wild player. I mean, he's probably one of my favorite players to watch just because you don't know what the hell he's going to do. but he's such an interesting guy to watch in the field. But I kind of want to go with the under on this one, Steve. It's a divisional game. Two defenses that can play. I mean, I think the Saints will bring it at home with that defense and crowd behind them and confuse Brady a little bit maybe. But I can't, even though it's at home, I don't know if I can pick the Saints here, Steve. Are you going to go out on a limb and say, let's fucking go, excuse me, but let's go Saints? I mean, maybe you will, but I right now I can't do it. Can you convince me? I kind of feel like you want to pick the Saints.
I do. And I have two reasons really. I love the home dome dog, right? You got it with the Lions this week. You got it with the now with the Saints as well. I don't like it enough that I like Houston though, but and we talked about last night, the narrative, anything that the book knows, and it's already in the line, right? But who did Jameis Winston play for? Who was he drafted by? That was his team. That was who he was supposed to be with, do big things for, and now it's his time to shine, and he's going against them. What a better spot than go against them, your former team, with the best quarterback who replaced you. So you gotta like Jameis Winston to be absolutely amped for this game, right? This is his focus. This is where he's at. Maybe that's why they weren't as sharp last week, because he spent his whole bye week preparing for this game. Maybe it was a little bit of a look ahead and they still snuck by. So I'm going to take the Saints here with as many points as they climb up to. The more, the better. I'll take them all. I'm leaning towards the Saints right now. I like it. I like going against. I talked about it. I love when there's a lot of money on one side and I'm getting points on the other side, and I'm getting them at home. So we'll see how it plays out. But right now, I'm definitely leaning the Saints. I like Jameis Winston to have a big game.
I just went from like 0% chance I'm going to bet on the Saints to like 80% chance. Steve, this is what happens. That's why I started with that disclaimer in this show, because when you're inundated with so much shit, I didn't even think about, Steve, the Jameis Winston angle. I mean, that is a big angle at home. I mean, if he's gonna clean his act up a little bit and really be focused, maybe put in like a double contacts or something. I don't know what he needs. He's still squinting out there. What's going on? Then it has to be this game. So it's a scary one though, Steve. It's
It's
still
the goat,
scary.
and yeah, it's the goat. I mean,
It's the GOAT, and the GOAT doesn't give a damn about Jameis Winston and his feelings. So,
right.
yeah, but it is up to 5.5. I mean, that's a big. Now you got a 5.5 point dog at home. I
If it
mean,
makes
that's
you feel better, though, if it makes you feel better, Tampa is 3-4 against the spread, so it's not like they're dominating the spread. It's
I
not like
know,
it's
I
the
know.
spread. It's a spread for a reason. So
Yeah,
they're are they going to lose? Probably not. But I wouldn't be shocked either. But they don't. They're not the best against the spread. So
yeah. This is one of those games I just didn't look at quick, but you changed my opinion real quick on that one. All right, the Cowboys at the Vikings. Cowboys, man, -2 right now, opened up at -2.5. So not a lot of fluctuation here. It's actually reverse line movement because there's way more. Well, there's way more bets in the Cowboys. The money's kind of even. But total is at 55. Huge total here. Whew. Do you like Dallas in this one, Steve? Are we gonna have another Cowboys bet here?
it's tough. I mean, like the Cowboys have. Are they still 6-0 against the spread? I'm guessing, right? Yeah,
Yep.
they've covered everything. They've been
The only team.
unbelievable. I mean, and every week I want to keep picking So I mean, I picked for them, but like the last couple of weeks I picked against them. But this again, both of these teams are coming off a bye. Kirk Cousins, like we've talked about, he's putting up sneaky numbers. Like he's
Mhm.
putting up good numbers. I think the play for me in this one, because I think it's so close that I could see being a final possession type of game and either team being able to hit that field goal to win. I think the play for me is the over. I think this is going to be that typical Kirk Cousins style of game where they're just absolutely slinging it. However, it is a primetime game, so we got to look at the Kirk Cousins angle on that one as well.
Mhm.
But regardless, I still do think that this is going to be a high scoring affair. I think there's so much talent on both offenses, and they're going to just let loose. And it's just going to be I think the 55 will get covered handily in this one.
You already called out what I was thinking, Steve. Kirk Cousins and the bright lights and Sunday Night Football. I wish I had that record in front of me, but anecdotally, I can speak to the many, many, many times where Kirk Cousins he cracked. He cracked under the pressure. He cracked under the big lights. I'm going to choose to play on the Cowboys. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I'm going to play on the Cowboys until they prove me otherwise. I
Mhm.
mean, the thing is, the Cowboys, as much as we probably hate to admit it, they're a Super Bowl contender. And
Yeah.
they're a Super Bowl contender because they have a world-class offense. They have players on that team now that have years, used to be young players. Now they have years of experience. Dak Prescott, I don't see him slowing down. He got that bye week after that little injury. I think it was like an ankle injury or something. Um,
Calf.
so calf. So he got to rest that. So I'm not worried about that. Minnesota, it's at Minnesota. I get it. Not scared. I'm not scared for Dallas. I think they're going to pull ahead. 2 is a very giving number, if you ask me. I mean, I would have this game at -4 for the Cowboys at least. I mean, if it was at home, it'd be -5, -6 for me. So I have to choose the Cowboys in this spot. They've given me no reason to go against them. I guess the one thought I would have, you always have to think about the other side. Minnesota's at home. Zimmer is probably a better. I mean, I don't love Mike Zimmer, but he's a better coach than Mike McCarthy. So he probably used those 2 weeks better than Mike McCarthy did. That being said, Mike McCarthy has a lot of good assistant coaches under him. And so he really doesn't have to do that much. So I just talked myself even out of that angle. I like the Cowboys in this one, Steve. And I think the over is probably the right play in the total too. All right. Final game. Here we go. Giants and Chiefs. Giants, who did not show up when I attended the game, but showed up last week against the Panthers. Would have liked to seen that the week before. Great play by the Giants defense. That's the most important thing there. But Giants are 10-point dogs on the road, as they should be. Totals at 52. Chiefs 3-4. Well, I think they're last place in the AFC West, aren't they? Oh, no, well, they're tied with the Broncos. What to say about the Chiefs? I mean, we could talk for an hour about the Chiefs, Steve, because I'm not gonna pretend to understand everything that's going on there, but I do think we talked about this before. I do think that Mahomes has had a very cushy situation there for a long time, and I think he's a very, very good player. I think he's a great player. However, he's not untouchable, and the defense is not good. He's making bad decisions. We're seeing now that new offensive line that they constructed at the start of the year, 4 new offensive linemen, that's starting to bust a little bit, right? There's players are getting in on defense. The Giants had, I don't know how many off the top of my head, but they had quite a few sacks last week. That's against the Panthers. Take that as you wish. But the Giants, I think, can hang in this game as long as Daniel Jones does his part. But that being said, listeners, if you think I'm betting on the Giants +10 anytime soon against the Chiefs in at Arrowhead in Kansas City, it ain't going to happen for me. You're not going to get a premium pick on the Giants from me. But I think the objective better in me would lean with the Giants in this spot. They covered a lot last year. They cover more as a dog. And the Chiefs, I mean, Steve, there's not a lot to like about the Chiefs. They got blown. Their doors got blown off by the Titans last week. What do you think about this?
Well, even though they got their the doors blown off, I think that actually makes it for a even worse spot for the Giants because of that.
Yeah.
You talk about a team just like San Francisco that's desperate for a win and has to come out completely on fire and is going to have to show that they have their offensive power still is the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. Good news for the Giants that Saquon was working with a trainer today. So was Shepard, Galladay, Kadarius Toney. So you're getting your offensive weapons back. The biggest question, though, is for me, are the Giants going to be able to withstand a toe-to-toe, back and forth, high-scoring game? Because I personally think after what happened with the Chiefs last week, they are going to bring it this week at home. They have to absolutely on Monday night spotlight. This isn't going to be like a 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock game where they kind of fly under the radar. No, this is Monday Night Football where they want to make a statement to say, hey, we're still the Chiefs. We're still in the last 2 Super Bowls. I'm Patrick Mahomes. I run this league. So I think that's the narrative in this one. I would not want to be the Giants in this situation where they've just gotten blown out and now have to go. I think the trend continues with these NFC teams against the Chiefs, that being what we saw with the Eagles and the Washington football team so far playing the Chiefs. I think that maybe the first half it could be a little close, but the firepower comes together too much in the second half, and the Chiefs win this one handily.
So you're telling me with Eli sitting at home talking shit about this game that he's going to sit there and watch the Giants get blown away?
No, he's going to be worried too much about Peyton's forehead and under armpits.
That's the best show on TV.
It's so good.
Right now, dude. It's so good.
It's fun, man.
Yeah, it's just brother. I mean, when Marshawn Lynch came on there and he was just like he was cursing every other word. He was drinking Hennessy. It was unbelievable.
And also just the people that they're able to pull to get on because it's them. It's amazing. Like to get Tom Brady to come on and stuff. Like, come on.
Yeah, and just like chit chat with them and talk about random. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then they're joking on each. Like
I love it.
It's great TV, and it's like so supplemental too. Because if the game sucks, I get so like entertained. Just in it, it's like 3 hours of comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you're on the right side on that one, Steve. I mean, situationally, it's not a good spot for the Giants. Chiefs probably a good teaser leg. Steve, what's your favorite teaser for Week 8?
My favorite teasers. Also, I forgot. Jabril Peppers is out too for the Giants, so that's a tough loss as well for them. Make up.
He's an explosive player, but he can miss. I mean,
he was supposed to be a trade bait piece. So
I know. He's not great in coverage, but yeah, the guy can hit. That's for sure.
I actually, for my teaser, 3-game teaser here, I like the Chargers, Kansas City Chiefs, and Bengals.
I like it. So, thinking about throwing the Lions in there, but I don't want to overexpose the Lions. So, I'll give my big balls bet here. My big balls bet is the Lions straight up. It's not that big of a balls bet, but the Lions getting their first win of the season. Sorry about that, Steve. I just think it's a good setup for them in that situation.
I
I think. What's that?
I agree with it.
Yeah. I think the Titans Colts, I think that's a great game to tease either way. I think that's going to be a really close game. I don't think either team is going to let that get out of hand. The other teaser leg that I like, I had it right here. Where the hell is it? I really like teasing Seattle to +4. You're getting over the key number of 3 there as a dog. I do not see Jacksonville beating Seattle by more than 4. And I probably have to tease Dallas to get them over the key number on the other side too. Dallas will at least get garbage time points. I can't see. I say all these things like it's the word of God, and then all the other things will happen. But those are the teaser legs I'm looking at. What's your big balls bet, Steve?
Big balls bet. Actually, for me, it was the Lions as well. Actually,
Yep.
I like them at home, and I mean, obviously, because we kind of went through this. I'm looking back now. We didn't like a lot of dogs, but I will go one big balls bet here. Actually, I like it. You get good value on it. Let's go with Jameis Winston at home. Let's do it.
Wow.
Plus 5.5. Let's take the money line on that one time this week.
Little sprinkle.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put it down on one money line. Saints. Let's get some value.
What are you putting in the money right now?
Making a note of it. I'm adding my word. So when it comes on winning cappers on Monday, we'll see it.
All right. Well, man, the wife is stomping upstairs. I can hear her walking around. I need to get the hell out of here. Guys, another week in the books on laying the points with Farley Bets, NFL ATS breakdown. Steve, I want to thank you for your contributions every single week. Steve has been killing it. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at SnormSnorm. Plus 35 units halfway through the season is no joke. Follow me at Chris R. Farley1. Check out the NBA. By the way, 14-7 in the NBA to start the season, so not too shabby. You follow me there with that. Follow us at the Odds Breakers, the Sports Wager, you at BetUS TV, and we will see you all next week.
Hey, look forward to some Halloween costumes this Friday from us too. We got a party.
Oh yeah, that's right. Some good content on social media.
Let's go. All right, thank you, everybody. See you guys.